Hey folks, this is Best in Sloth. Welcome back to Planet Zoo and the final episode of the Tropical Pack. Yes, we're finally going to finish another animal pack, and we're going to finish things off today with the brown-throated sloth. And I've got to remember, by the way, I've done this, you'll see we've started like 7 minutes into the video. I've kind of put the clips in the wrong order, so we're going to go back to the start of the video at the end of the video, if that makes sense. I bandied around a lot of ideas for this final habitat, for the sloth habitat, thinking in a way it's the sloths. It's a big deal for me to finally have a sloth habitat, you know, in Planet Zoo. That's a big thing for me. It's my favourite animal. And I kind of wanted it big, dramatic, but then this story has changed so much since we started. You know, the story of Barry has come out of nowhere. It wasn't originally my intention for Barry to be this tragic character, but that's just kind of how things developed. And in the last few videos, we've sort of established that maybe Barry wasn't all bad, and maybe Barry was pressured into certain things, and that Barry at its core did truly love the animals more than anything else, and just things slip by the wayside. People aren't good or evil, people are shades of grey. So, what this is Barry's office, basically. And Barry's office is in an old shipping container. That's the thing people do, especially people who have to move around a lot, for example. But this would be a portable office, essentially. And Barry has converted an old shipping container, which he had when building the zoo, into a little office block sort of thing, just like a little office space. And there's going to be a couple others in the area as well, just to sort of add to the ambiance. And as you can see, he's kitted it out with these big windows at the front, and he sits in there and he looks out into the rainforest area. This area is separate from the rest of the zoo. It's kind of that little side off section where you walk through the desolate deforestation area we saw in the last video. So this is kind of Barry's own private little space, and we're going to build this. Basically, my idea was, it's hard to describe. It's just, I wanted Barry to have, I didn't want him to have a big dramatic or like brutal ending. I didn't want the sloths to eat him or something like that, which is kind of where the ideas sort of started. It's meant to be a little sad. It's meant to be a little bit ambiguous, you know. But the point is, Barry has built himself this little working area, and even while everything else is falling apart, even while the rest of the zoo is falling apart, and even while the people are after him or whatever's going on out there, if it's in his head or not, even while his family's got problems, he can come to this little office. And it connects directly with the walkthrough sloth habitat, which is not going to be a walkthrough sloth habitat. Basically, he's built himself a little sloth area just outside of his office block, and he takes care of these sloths, and he sits there at his desk, and he watches them, and he loves them, because they're his favourite animal. Just like, you know, all authors put themselves into their work, and the same goes for Planet Zoo if you're doing this weird thing that I'm doing. And, you know, sloths are my favourite animals, and I said there's parts of myself in Barry as well, as there always will be. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so I wanted to build a really cool shipping container office sort of thing. So I'm just kind of doing some little detail works here to kind of build the thing up, make it look a little bit more interesting. Doing the doorway here at the side. Unfortunately, some of the items in the game just don't go dark enough. The metal beams that I love so much, I use them all the time. They're black because I want the also I want it like a shadow, you know, where the doors meet. It doesn't go dark enough at all. It's like very light grey, so it clearly doesn't look like an actual gap. And what I ended up doing was layering up 2 more pieces of the corrugated metal, as you can see here, and then sinking in a dark piece in between the two to kind of give the idea that there's a gap there, and, you know, it would be a doorway if it actually functioned as a doorway. He doesn't use this as a doorway, but, you know, when it was just a shipping container, this was the doorway. I did have some reference images up, as you may have seen me Googling at the very start of the video, so attaching some little, I don't really know what they are, they're attachment points or like handles and stuff like that, so I just want to attach those going along the back, again, just to make it feel like an actual shipping container that has been converted. This is quite a simple build. It was only 3.5 hours, something like that, knocked it out all last night. And when you do, it's always a thing, if you do something simple, you have to do it right, you know, you have to get the details right, and that's kind of where my head was at with this. I really wish we had smaller versions of these, all these little attachment points, because they are humongous for what we're doing, but it's just a rough idea, really. And I wanted to do the text as well, you know, so again, I've got a real shipping container up on my other screen, and I'm kind of just getting the text in there. Unfortunately, you can't directly control the size of text in this game, so the way to control it is to have lots of text, and that shrinks it down. So the maximum weight of this is about like 104 billion kilograms or something like that, because that's the only way I could get the text to shrink down to an appropriate size. But these are all real pieces of text that you would find on a real shipping container. I think it's really effective. I think it looks pretty bloody accurate, actually. I did want another sign down there on the bottom right, but I couldn't bother making it, so... Realize that is one there, make that one a group, flip that around the other side, and that is our shipping container shell done. And like I said, I just wanted a couple more of them in the surrounding area just to sell the general idea. Basically, you know, there's a few shipping containers here that they've had delivering things for the zoo, and Barry decided to turn one into a sloth habitat, or decided to turn one into his office, and then he built a little habitat for the sloths. And they're not contained, there's no fence or anything like that. He just built a sloth area, built like a climbing frame, and he feeds them, and they keep coming back. You know, they're not there because they have to be, they're there because they want to be, because he takes care of them and he loves them. And that's important. Barry's done some bad things. I'm not trying to, you know, obfuscate what Barry has done in the past, but at his core, he was a good guy. He just got in over his head. You know what I mean? I wanted to do I was kind of doing this. I was thinking this might be a step too far. I started doing like a crane attachment point kind of thing. You know, like this is how they would. So I would have like an abandoned crane here, and this is how they would pick up the shipping containers in the first place. It just wasn't working. The problem is the game's tires are tiny, and I think the work to custom build like the full vehicle would have taken this from a video today to a video for like a billion years from now. So I ended up scrapping most of this. I keep this here. This is like the attachment point, like magnetic thing. You attach it onto the shipping container, and then the hook comes around and grabs it, and that's how you lift things up. So I was working on it for a little while and then tossed most of it, unfortunately. But it's the arid pack in 5 days time, something like that. So of course we had to get this done. I do have, it's still an acorn of an idea for what we're doing for the arid pack. There is a plan. It's just not quite fully established in my head how it's going to work, but there is a bit of a plan. We are going to build a dam. It's a dam plan, as we talked about in the last video. I've already blocked out a bit of the water elsewhere in the park, and then when the arid pack comes out, cough, we'll get to work. I did try to build a tire. It just wasn't going to look good. You'd have to like get individual bits and make the ridges and stuff like that, and it wasn't necessary. The whole point of this area, in a way, you know, we've gone through this overgrown zoo. It's been a bit not nightmarish, but there's meant to be a slight horror vibe to it. You know, it's meant to be suffocated by nature as nature reclaims the area. I wanted this to be beautiful. I wanted this to be a really nice area. It's meant to be a slightly beautiful but melancholic ending for Barry. I'm leaving his fate ambiguous, as you'll see. We're going to do a little bit of environmental storytelling in the office later on. And what happens to Barry is up to you, basically. I like to think he got out with his family and started a new life somewhere and turned over a new leaf, but maybe he got killed. You never know. I was originally, when I started planning this out, it was going to go in a much darker direction. But I felt like if I included some of the things I was going to include, it might make a few people watching this upset, so I thought I'd ignore that. I realised at this point that my little fake dude here needed, and this is completely wrong, I'm going to have to remodel this in a second. Well, I do remodel it in a second. I wanted to build a little table. You know, I'm going to build up Barry's office furniture in his office, accoutrements. And my little guy doesn't have, like, hinge points. You know, I don't know where his limbs are, so it's hard to build things to scale based on that. So I had to build some limbs there, and I was standing up and sort of comparing it to my own desk to try and make sure the table is an accurate size to how big it would be in Barry's world. It's funny, I was kind of like sort of happy with how things were going here. The office looks okay, and then I had a look on the Steam Workshop to see what other people have built after I'd finished mine, see how other people have built tables and office equipment in particular, and people's work is so much better. It's so detailed, it's crazy. Like, I'm building this little chair, and it's just flat pieces of wood on these little legs, which I think suits the area, don't get me wrong, but then other people have built these like hyper detailed office chairs and stuff like that. It's mad. Always be impressed with that kind of like intricate little thing. I've got better at a lot of things with Planet Zoo, you know, I do think I'm a lot better as a builder than I used to be, but like little building details like that, where you use like tiny existing objects to build something bigger, like with the shark was good though. Not something I've done a lot with yet. Something I'd like to practice a little bit more. Maybe we'll do that in the future. There's a little kit back there. You'll have seen just at the exit. The idea is Barry's equipment, you can see that his bags are by the door. It's a go bag, basically. You know, when you need to leave in an emergency, you've got a bag by the door ready to grab. His bag is still there, so again, that's something you read into yourself. That's what I mean by environmental storytelling. It's not something that I would need to necessarily tell you, but if you were playing this as a video game and you walked in and you saw a go bag by the door and the person missing, you would then assume certain things based on that. But just even subconsciously, you might not even think about it, but it's like a subconscious thing. Life is weird. Anyways, building a little doorway here. Again, the door's going to be ajar. There's going to be like foliage tracked inside. Did Barry run out so fast he just forgot it himself? Did someone else come and grab him? You know, yada yada yada, kind of thing. You can have your own headcanon for the fate of Bonanza. What's it called? Bonkers Barry and his barley bonanza. Anyways, just a little bit of edging detail there at the back and bring it up to the top, just so it looks pretty. Again, just little things, just to make it look more like it has been converted into an office. So we've got an aircon unit, and I thought, since we didn't really ever explore the Grasslands pack, and I'm trying to sell this as a beautiful area, the whole point is this is just nature and pretty, and like his little refuge, you know, where he just gets to be himself again, away from all the turmoil of what's going on in life. So I thought we'd build a little walkthrough butterfly habitat. There's not going to be any indication there that it is a walkthrough habitat. We're going to get rid of the walls and the path and the entrance and all of that. You're just going to walk through nature, and there's going to be butterflies flitting around. There was a couple houses, which I can't get rid of. That's fine. But otherwise, it blends entirely into the environment. It's really nice. I love that Frontier have added this option that we can do this. It was a bit of a struggle with the sloths to think of something, because the sloth habitat is inherently super limited, right? Because it has to have the climbing frame. You can't get rid of the climbing frame, and the climbing frame is huge and very prominent. You know, there's no way around that. So the sloth habitat itself couldn't have that much attention. You know, there's just not that much you can do with it. It's the storytelling and the environment building around the sloth habitat that is going to sell the habitat itself. So that's kind of where my head was at. Instead of trying to make the habitat into something it just wasn't going to be, let's build the area around it to accentuate the habitat itself. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Anyways, that's the idea. I love that you can just have no walls and stuff, though. It doesn't have to be a walkthrough. It can just be this open air thingamajiggy. Lots and lots and lots of Yorkshire fog grass. My beloved Yorkshire fog grass. I said that the faux rock might be my most used thing, but I think it's probably this grass, actually. I brought back a few of the different things we've been using throughout the Elderwood Zoo. Do you remember Elderwood Zoo was first inspired by the conservation pack? That's why we started this in the first place. And I do want to keep bringing it back to that. Maybe a little bit more than we have done this time as well. A little bit more than we have done with the Barley Zoo. Just to thematically make sure that the entire zoo is still tied together. I'm a little apprehensive about that with the Arid pack. It's going to be difficult. It is going to feel like its own distinct section. I don't think there's really any way around that. But we have to justify it in universe at the very least, and that's what the dam is hopefully going to do. Because I do want this to feel like a natural park. I do want it to feel like a real place. It doesn't, but you know, if you suspend your disbelief a little bit, you can maybe get there. We also started using a new tree for this area for the first time. This is the silken oak tree, I believe it's called, something like that. Just a little bit different, a little bit more colour, and just, again, I wanted it to feel like this was, it's like this little grove of silken trees that Barry decided to make his home away from home, just away from the turmoil of the rest of his life. Reeds. I had this little pond, and I don't know what it is. Like, someone will explain to me, they'll look at this and think, right, you're doing that wrong. I cannot make reeds look good. I think I need loads more of them. I think that might be it. I don't know what it is. There's just something about how you place reeds to make them work, and I have not got it. I do not have it clicked quite yet. I was even Googling images to try and find reed covered ponds to see, and that's why I sort of moved them into the middle, because that's something you see a lot. I just couldn't get it right, no matter what I do. And it's been a problem for me, like, ever since I started Planet Zoo. This is not a new problem. This is an age-old problem for me, to say the least. We're running on 800% speed here, by the way, which is the speed I'm going to try to aim for going forward. This wasn't a huge build, I say, 3.5 hours. And that was me extending it by building the crane and stuff like that. I was really eking it out at the end there. I do need to stop doing it all in one day, though. You lose your mind a little bit. Last night, I just had dinner, sat down, and started playing Planet Zoo. I just hammered it. Because obviously, we need to get ready for the Arid pack in the future. Oh, yes, I should mention very quickly, of course, if you want to keep up what we're doing. The last video did not do very well. It's making me a little bit cautious. So again, just to reiterate how important it is to like the videos, share, comment and like. Sharing's a bit weird. I get that. I totally understand that. But liking and commenting is humongous. It takes a few seconds, and I feel less terrible because I look at the views of the last video. I'm like, like, is this the beginning of the end? Is this like a downfall kind of thing? I don't think it is. I think it's just the gibbon, and I don't know if the title of thumbnail were great, but we'll see how this one does. We're definitely going to start with the arid pack. Do not worry about it. I don't want people panicking that this is about to end. I'm enjoying it again, actually. I'm enjoying Planet Zoo again, so we're definitely going to carry on going. It's more like the better reception we get, the more often we can do Planet Zoo more than anything, I would suggest. Anyways, just building some furniture here, so a bit of chipboard. It took me so long to find the chipboard. And I swear, right, somebody tell me this. There was a... I was trying to remember my Australian zoo, which I seemingly don't have anymore for some reason. I remember having a stack of papers as like an object, like a placeable object called like a stack of papers that I could place down. I'm sure we placed it in our crocodile habitat, you know, the underwater lab kind of thing. I could not for the life of me. I spent so long trying to find them. I was Googling it to try and find them. I just couldn't get them anywhere. I don't know if I've just invented those in my head. Like, they could not exist, for all I know. I wish we had more office props and stuff like that. It's definitely something we'll look at. I'm sure there's mods out there that add this kind of thing a little bit more, but I'm not modding Planet Zoo until Planet Zoo's done updating. When the final DLC for Planet Zoo comes out, then we'll download some mods and stuff like that, and that's a good way to extend the life of the game. But we are definitely waiting until the end for that. Anyways, got a chipboard at the side, you know, where you make notes. We're going to attach some sticky notes on there. Oh, right, okay. Oh yeah, no, it's carried on. There you go. Let's jump to the start of the video. Lovely stuff. Some sticky notes on, and I wanted to build... I've got a calyx, because doesn't everyone have a bloody calyx? So I wanted to build like little pull-out QB box shebangs over in this area. So these are my QB box shebangs over in this area. They're very fake, as you can tell, because they're just... If you don't get the exact right sizing, there's nothing you can do. So we're just going to fake it a little bit, but they kind of stick out a little bit, and then I'm going to attach some full stops, I think it is. Yep, drag those along a little bit, just so it looks like a, you know, those circular handles you'd get in sort of a wooden box in a office or anything like that. I wanted it to feel like an office, but to feel jungly in the aesthetic as well, and to feel temporary. This isn't somewhere he's lived for a long time necessarily, but this is just, yeah. Those are those big folders, you know, those big chunky plastic folders you get where you can load in all the paper, and just come and go with little ideas. I didn't end up doing that much. Just some sticky notes. Definitely an idea I stole from the Steam Workshop, that one. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I'm doing a little bit of a border here for our chipboard kind of shebang. There will be a ceiling, by the way. I just want to add this in. I will be adding a roof later on. It's just, yeah, not quite yet. I was going to add in, I can't remember what it was going to be. I wanted a little, like a little Christmas present, the saying it's from his kids. I wanted to have a photo of his family, but I thought that might be pushing it a little bit. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do that. And then a few things, you know, he's got some bananas for the sloths if he wants to go feed them randomly, and they're kind of hooked over the bag there, as you can see, the box. Some scrappy kind of things lying around as well. It should feel a little bit messy, a little bit haphazard. You know, the chair's tilted away, a couple of things have fallen over, but it's not an absolute disaster. So again, we're just trying to tell a story of a certain kind, leaving it open to interpretation at least a little bit. A few bits of memorabilia, just surrounding himself with the things he loved. And we know that Bonkers Barry loved Asia, loved Southeast Asia and stuff like that. So anyways, time for the ceiling, finally. I just wanted to... I always make the mistake when I'm building like caves and stuff. I put the roof on too early, and it makes everything else really difficult. So always save the roof until the very end. So that's what I thought I would do. I don't know why he has a vent and an aircon unit, but he does. Just deal with it, okay? And sticking some lights on there. It's funny this, they're set to automatic, and 2 of them are on, and 1 of them isn't. All the time. Like it's automatically picked up the light. I'm not really sure why it's iffy like that, but whatever. And then we're going to finish off basically with tons and tons of Rockwork. I say tons. A few minutes worth. My beloved faux rock. It always feels like I'm putting too much of it in, but we did this before the big rock this time, and the big rocks are going to come in, kind of break that down a little bit. I just wanted to feel like an interesting area. You know, you can see there's a lot more verticality in the area than I maybe typically do. It's something Elderwood has been a big focus on. This zoo has not taken advantage of it as much. It's something I'd like to get back to with the arid pack, although I don't think it's going to work based on the idea that we've got. But we'll see about that. But Elderwood was in part my intention to A, focus on better looking foliage, and B, to focus on more elevation, more verticality in my zoos. And it's okay to leave that behind every now and again. You know, this was meant to be a zoo, and you wouldn't have a zoo that goes up and down all the time, because then your guests would, you know, die. So it's important to know your area, but it'd be nice to get back to a little bit more of that Elderwood stuff. The Arid Pack is not going to be a zoo. We're not building a zoo. We're building something. It's been nice building a zoo, though, and like, oh, the animals are in here because it's a zoo. That makes sense. Whereas the rest of Elderwood, it's like, oh, the animals happen to be contained here. Oh, this is sort of a zoo for some reason. We're not sure why. There's just zoo exhibits lying around. It's getting very difficult to justify sometimes. But we'll see how it goes. I'll start on the pack and I'll be struck by inspiration. I do have a bit of an idea. Actually, I've got an idea that one of you gave me, so I'm just stealing it, basically. Lots of rocks, and there's one little bit here. I don't know if I've already seen it, already done it. There's like one little bit of rock. I feel like I came into my own. That little bit there as well. It's a really nice rock work. I feel like I came into my own a little bit more with the rock work. I've done so much of it in Elderwood that I've just had so much practice, you know. And I fall in love with this big rock again. Tiger Rock 01 has become, once again, one of my favourite rocks. I kind of fluctuate a lot. I was using this one a lot, 04, and I've kind of started to go off it a little bit again. It's very useful in some circumstances, as you can see, but 01 was carrying this area, to say the least. It's a big area as well. It's a big area of land, really, surrounded by rockwork, and the idea of using a small rock to do it is depressing, so use Tiger Rock 01, and it speeds things up a whole bunch. I hate saying tiger. I know it is tiger. Tiger is how you pronounce it, but it looks like tiger, and tiger sounds like it's a tiger, and that's silly. Anyways, a little bit of foliage to finish things off. Very low-key. We're not doing anything too crazy here. Some bird's nests, which I've really come to like as well. The big bird's nest in particular is really cool. My beloved Kentia palm, which I deeply adore, as you will notice by the fact there's about 5,000 of them in the area. And just wanted it to feel tropical and lively and full of life and full of plant life and full of sloths, full of butterflies, but not excessive. Didn't want it to feel claustrophobic in the way that we designed the rest of the zoo. Didn't want it to feel necessarily overgrown. You'll notice the office is not overgrown. The office is fairly clean. It's not meant to be. It's meant to pull back from that horror aesthetic, and that's very important when you're designing anything with horror or like a negative vibe at all. It can't be all bleak all the time, otherwise you end up with The Road. The Road is brilliant. Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Didn't Cormac McCarthy die like the other day? Anyways, it's brilliant, but it's relentless and it's a lot. You need breathing space to make horror work. You know, that's why horror films always start with like happy-go-lucky teenagers off to go have sex by the lake and then they get eaten by piranhas. You know, you need the contrast or the horror doesn't work, because if it's just horror all the time, then it's not contrasting with anything. There's no moments of levity to then strike against the horror. You know what I mean? It's the contrast of emotions that makes it work. It feels like that's what they tried with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and they just didn't work at all. They failed entirely, but that's on them, not on the concept. Anyways, the point is, we've had the spooky areas, we've had all that, and there's the leaves sort of trampled into the building a little bit. Someone's gone in and out in a rush, you know, is the idea. I was considering like trying to do tire tracks or something like that in the area as well, but didn't quite work out. Very quickly before we hop in game, I want to say I've not done the signs yet, and I am going to do the memorial section. Everything's there's a lot going on in my life right now. There's a lot of work involved in my life right now. And obviously the Arid Pack is out very soon, and signs might not seem like a big deal, but if this video is going to go up tonight, it's currently 3:45. I need to go work out for 2 hours now, so I'm not going to get the memorial done, but I'll try to get the animal signs done, and then I'll get the memorial done for next time. I don't know if we're going to do a tour of the tropical pack. We might do a tropical arid tour at the end. We might do a tour before then. We might just wait till Elderwood's entirely finished and do like a 4-hour-long tour. That might be fun. Either way, I'll see you folks in a game. I'll see you folks in game in a second. See you then. Okay, folks, for the final time in the tropical pack, let's do a little tour. We're going to start with the gibbons because I have updated the science as we just discussed. So first, we're going to check out the gibbon gantry. I was looking for PNG images, transparent background images of the gibbon to include in the background, and this is the one from this is the La Gibbon from Zoo Tycoon 2, and the image was of it like sort of semi T-posing, weirdly floating in the air. And I just had to include it. So our gibbon is T-posing his way into space. Anyways, let's go check out the gibbon gantry. We're going to zoom through here. I'm just really trying to show you the animal sign for those of you who are interested in. I found this picture of this one eating carrots, and it just made me so happy. Just to read the bottom one in case you can't see it, it's the important one. I didn't make up that fact. The Wikipedia title for that picture, if you load up that picture, if you go into Wikipedia on the La Gibbon and you click that picture and look at the top, not the title at the bottom, but at the top of the page, the title is "Someone a Carrot?" question mark, question mark, question mark. I had to include it. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Right, anyways, let's zoom forward and let's go check out our sloth, or our sleuth, if you're that way inclined. I am not, because that's disgusting. Right. So as you said, as I said, you didn't say anything. As we said, as we all said, as our collective eldritch body said, you head over from, obviously you barred from getting through that. That's a little bit sloppy, cartoonish. I might have to do something about that. But anyway, you're barred from going over there, so you head out into the wilderness. There's no path from this point forward. I just want people to naturally venture into this area and kind of figure it out for themselves. So this area could do with a little love now that I look at it. I've kind of missed a little bit of rockwork here that I've not noticed. That could do with a little bit of tidying up. Let's ignore that and get to the bit that I did work on, which is starting from about here. So here we go. So first of all, you get your sign for the Sloth Sanctuary. There he is. And you're walking, and you're walking. And it's just meant to be a beautiful contrast with the desert over there and everything like that. This is just meant to be pleasant. So there's butterflies flying around everywhere. As you can see, there they go. Sitting on the houses. Oh god, there's loads of them. Hello guys. Tons of butterflies. Got a couple little insect houses, which I thought were appropriate given the butterflies. A little pond over there. You can just see those other two shipping containers sitting there in the distance. And look to the left, and that's where we're going. So we're walking, we're walking, we're walking. It's nice, isn't it? Some general things. We like things, and you walk inside. And you're like, oh no, okay, someone's left the door open. The foliage just got in. But is that all that's happened? You know, there's a notepad on the ground. Is that there? There's this little sort of storage space. There's this go bag right by the door, as we talked about. That is not meant to be indoors. I put that outside very specifically over here because I thought Barry's a little bit, I didn't even talk about it in the video, Barry's a little bit anxious about being followed and stuff like that. He would have, you know, a security camera ready, you know, tracking, like to see if anyone's approaching the building. So I'm not sure how that ended up indoors, but whatever. I've hit play, right? Yeah, there's just, I mean, they are sloths, but they don't move much, do they? Yeah, this is Barry's little office space, basically. And as you can see, big brain. I built a little PC, and there's our sloth sign. There you go. There's the text. If you, sorry, there's bad language on there. I apologize, but it just felt appropriate. I was quite proud of these ones actually. So yeah, there's this little, I don't know where there's a candle, but there's this little seating area, this little clipboard, some things on the side that you would have hanging around bananas so we can feed the sloths. And he would sit here with Barry on his little cushion chair, and he would look out into the sloth habitat. And like I said, you know, they're not contained, there's no fence at all. He just built a climbing frame so the sloths would love it, and they did indeed love it, and they don't leave, and they just hang around here, and he could enjoy the day. I put a little handle on here, and then a couple little nodules on it. This took, for some reason, oh, I've broken everything, one sec. For some reason, attaching these little nodules here took bloody ages, but I wanted something that looks like it was actually attached to the door. Let's go check it outside. You're not meant to, obviously this is like the viewing area for this habitat, but we can go off-road a little bit. So we're going to sneak around the corner here, go say hello to our sloths. Big old tree in the middle. What are you up to? Oh, hello, buddy. Look at that. You're stretchy boy, aren't you? Lovely. You're just hanging around. Yeah, they don't move much. I do want to go over the top with like changing how this looks. So I've got some foliage like climbing up the tree here, and you know, climbing up the middle of these. I've got the tree in the middle. I've got some ferns popping around, but I didn't want to cover this in stuff. The idea is not for it to feel, you know, stupendously overgrown. It's meant to feel lived in and usable. None of them sitting in the basket, unfortunately. Oh, hello, buddy. Oh, it sounds like a kettle going off. Really just does sound like a kettle. Got a little feeding thing here, a little water thing. They've got like a little hammock over here, which unfortunately they're not using right now, but you know, we can come back and check them at some other time, I'm sure. There isn't much else to show for this one, it must be said. It's a quick little tour. But I really like this feeling of just, it's a natural area. You know, the shipping container is like the only sort of chucked into the area. The area should feel natural, but not in a spooky way, and just somewhere for Barry to enjoy himself. And I think this was like my big breakthrough idea. You know, I was hammering ideas and looking at reference images and just trying to come up with something, a way to integrate the Sloth and Barry and tell the end of Barry's story, at least as far as we know. Maybe he'll return in a future pack. You never know, folks. And I just kind of randomly thought of this idea of the shipping container, and I think it really has worked. Because I think if I built like a proper building here, it wouldn't have the same feeling to it. And this combines the set. I'm not like just trying to big myself up. I just feel like it combines the Elderwood and this area and Barry's story and the Sloths in like a really nice way, personally. But yeah, I am bigging myself up a little bit there. Anyways, yeah, that is literally it. Oh. Right, what an image to end things on. Okay, we'll end it there. Thank you so much for joining me for this tropical pack. We'll be back on Tuesday, of course, with the arid pack. And I don't know what animal yet. I don't know what we're doing yet. As you can see, it's not been done. I am recording this on Thursday, so I've got a busy... No, wait, can't... No. But the point is, you can see I haven't done much in preparation for the arid pack when I get it on Tuesday, like everyone else. There you go. And, yeah. Look at his little tail. Oh, no, gone too far. You have to go into the crotch, but it's just poking out underneath. Adorable. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Again, throw me a like, throw me a comment if you enjoyed the series and you're excited about the arid pack. That would really help. I'm not going to guarantee we'll do all 8 animals, but we'll definitely, you know, we'll basically just keep going until the next pack comes out. That's something, at least. Thanks for joining me. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye.
If you're ready, we'll maneuver. Reaching out.